Welcome to the new video related to the thesis writing. We also call it the research report writing or the thesis writing. In the today lecture, we will discuss about the main parts of thesis writing. It's the introductory lecture in which I will tell you about the main elements of the thesis writing. What are the main parts of the thesis writing? How can we start? What is the body of a thesis? And how can we conclude? How can we write literature? How can we write introduction? How can we write methodology? And how can we write the results of the research? How can we analyze it? All these things we will discuss in this lecture. Okay, the main parts of thesis. When you will formatting your thesis, these are the important elements you should include in your thesis. The first element is the extra pages. You should arrange in the following sequence. Extra pages mean the title page. First you have to design a title page for your thesis, like you have to write the title of your thesis topic. Uh, you have to write your names, you have to write your ID, registration number, you have to write down the name of your supervisor, you have to write down the name of the university and the logo of university. You should design the title page in a manner that the page will be attractive for the audience. And the second and important thing is the declaration. Uh, After the title page, you should include the declaration from author that you have written this work your own. You did not copy it. This is not a plagiarized work. All these things included in the declaration. And then is the approval letters on the declaration. After the declaration, you should put the approval letter from your supervisor. Supervisor will sign on your approval letter that he or she checked your thesis, and this thesis is appropriate for the further process, and he or she will sign uh, the approval letter. Then you are eligible to submit to the university, and you are eligible to submit to the other authorities. In some universities, there are different forms uh, for the approval of from your supervisor, or the approval from the plagiarism checking authority. There are different forms available in the university. It depends. If the form is available, then you should put all the forms uh, after the declaration. Then that is the page of acknowledgement. Acknowledgement is also very important because the people who contributed or the help in your research, maybe the your population, your sample from where you have collected the data, or the person help you in your data analysis, in your report writing, or they help you in editing or in the improvement of your thesis work. You should include with the thanks in this acknowledgement. Start with the name of Allah, and then your supervisor and the other your friends, your family, and the colleagues who help you in your thesis. Then we have a dedication. Dedication means if you have written a thesis with a dedication, with giving a time to the thesis. If you want to dedicate this thesis maybe to your family, your wife, your children, or your parents, mother and father, so it will be very, they will be very happy to see you, to, to see her or his name on your thesis. Then we have a table of content. After the dedication, we have a table of content. We put table of content after the dedication. There are a different pattern in the different thesis. Some people put abstract before the table of content, and some people put abstract after the table of content. It is depends on you. If you want to put the abstract before the table of content, you can do it, or you can check from your university if they have the sample, to follow the sample of your university. So I am suggesting that you may put your abstract before the table of content, and then you should have the list of tables and the list of figures with the page numbers after the table of contents. Then in the next stage, then we have, as I said, that the abstract can be included after the table of contents, the list of figures and tables, are before the table of contents. It depends on you and your university policy. It is not very hard and fast rule, but I think it should be before the table of contents. Okay, then what includes in the table of contents? What should we include? What should we include in the abstract? In the abstract, we will include the purpose of the research paper. We will include the methodology of research paper. We will include the results from your thesis, your originality, what is new in your research, and the managerial implication and the limitation of your research. All these things are important to put in your research. The three main important thing you have, four main important thing you have to be uh, in the abstract. Like number one is purpose of the research. Number two is research methodology. Number four is the results. Number three is the results, and the number four is the originality of your research. These four are very important to put in your abstract. Then we should have the chapter number one. That's uh, the name of the chapter number one is the introduction. You write chapter number one, and that is the introduction. In the chapter number one, we have uh, the headings like this: 1.1, that is the background of the study. What we will discuss in the background of the study, it is a detailed lecture. We will discuss in the other lecture. Here, just I am giving you the hint about the main uh, headings in the introduction. The 1.1 is the background of the study. 1.2 is the research gap. 1.3 is problem statement. 1.4 research questions, or maybe the research objectives. 1.5 research objectives. 1.6 significance of your study. And in the finally, 1.7 or 8. It is the the sequence of your thesis. That is the structure of your thesis. If you want to put in some thesis, you can see the summary of the whole chapter. If you want to put the summary of the whole chapter, you can put it at the end of the chapter number one, or even at the end of each chapter. This is the chapter number one. Then we have chapter number two. In the chapter number two, the name of the chapter number two is the literature review. In the literature review, you should start your reviewing the literature from the theoretical foundation. So first, you have to write the theory on your topic and match and discuss your theory, how this theory match with your topic, and then you discuss uh, the main variables, starting from the dependent variables, then the independent variables, and the sub dimensions of your independent or dependent variables. If you have a mediating or moderating variable, you have to write it down, the mediating and the moderating variables. You have to write the main dimensions of your all the variables, and then you have to put the theoretical framework or the research framework and the research model after discussing theoretical foundation, your dependent and dependent variables, and the sub dimensions of the independent and dependent variable. You have to put the research model, research framework, or we call it research theoretical framework. After the theoretical framework, now you should develop hypothesis. For the development of the hypothesis, you should write literature on each hypothesis. First, you have to write the literature related to the hypothesis, and then you develop the first hypothesis. And then you write literature for the second hypothesis, and after, at the end of that literature, you show the second hypothesis, and so on. The third hypothesis, write literature and the hypothesis, and the fourth and the fifth. All the hypotheses, you have to write first literature about the hypothesis, and then you should develop the hypothesis after the each literature, each relationship. Uh, that's end the chapter number two, which is literature review. If you want to add the summary of the literature, you can put half-page summary at the end of this lecture, this literature review. Then we have a research methodology, chapter number three, that is the research methodology. The main parts of the research methodology start from the research design. You have to write the research design, whether your research is quantitative, your research is qualitative, whether it is mixed approach, what are the strategy, how can you collect the data. That is the ha- this is the one-time collection of a data, or you uh, should carry on every year or every 3 years. It's a cross-sectional study, or it's a longitudinal study. You all discuss in the research design. And then we have the population. You discuss the population of your research. You discuss the sampling technique and sample size in research methodology. Then the important point is the instrument. Instrument mean the data collection instrument. If you are collecting primary data, then you have to write about the instrument. How can you collect the data? If you are working on the Scandi data, then you should give heading of the data collection. In the data collection of the Scandi data, you should write how can you collect the data, from where you collect your data, maybe from the balance sheet of the company, maybe from some other sources. You have to write it down, how many years you have included in uh, in your data. All these things will be discussed in the data collection. In the primary research, you have to discuss the instrument. Instrument mean the questionnaire from where you have adopted, how many items are there, what are the scale of your research instrument, and how many questions are there. All these things you should have to discuss in the instrument section, instrument uh, part of the research methodology. Then we have a data analysis. In the data analysis, you should discuss how you analyze the data. How will you analyze the data? Like you, which software you can use to analyze the data? What are the tests you will use to analyze the data? Maybe you are using regression. Maybe you are using the SPSS or the Smart PLS or the AMOS. All these things you can use in the data analysis. Then we have chapter number 4, which is results and findings. Start from the frequencies table, like the demographics tables, like age, education, your experience, your designation. All these things should be included in the start of the chapter number 4, and interpret all these tables. Or maybe you can put the chart of all these uh, demographics. Then we have the reliability and the validity of the data. If you are doing the reliability and validity of the data, you have to put after the demographics. Then you are going with the reliability and the validity of the data. Then you test your hypothesis, what you have developed in the literature review. You have to test the hypothesis. After that, that ends the chapter number 4. Then we have chapter number 5, that is the discussion and the conclusion. In the discussion, you will discuss your results in chapter number 4 and match those results with the previous literature. And if you want to put your input, your thinking in uh, this thesis, then you can put your own uh, thoughts in the discussion based on your results. You can discuss your results, you can match it with the literature, whether if you find that there is a relationship, whether how many writers have found that there is a positive relationship, how many found there is no relationship, how many find uh, there is a negative relationship. So you have to write all these things in the discussion section. Then we have managerial implications in the chapter number 5. You have you will recommend based on your discussion and your results to the managers, to the policy makers, how they can develop their policies, how they can solve their problem by using your findings. Then we have a conclusion, and finally we have limitations and the future research directions. You tell other researcher to for the future direction of the research. On which topic they can research, uh, maybe for research article or maybe for thesis. This ends the chapter number 5. Then we have the style of references. You can There are a lot of styles to put references in your thesis. Maybe the MLS style, maybe the Harvard style, but I am recommending here in Pakistan, APS style is the most appropriate style in the business administration, and in the social sciences, it is the MLA is the more appropriate. But it depends. on the university policy. It depends where you are publishing your research paper. It depends on the research journal, uh, in what style they are using in your research journal or what style they are using in the university. This is the referencing style, and the finally is the appendices. You can put your questionnaire, you can put your figures and tables at the end of your uh, thesis. That's end my lecture. I hope this lecture will help you uh, in the formatting of your research thesis, in the designing of your thesis. In the next lecture, we also discuss in the detail about the introduction chapter, what will be included in the introduction chapter, how you write introduction, how you write literature review, and what will be included in the theoretical foundation, what will be included in the theoretical framework, what will be included, and how to write the population, and all these things in the other lectures. Thank you very much. Uh, I hope this will be helpful uh, in your studies. Thank you so much.